Oral, the Honourable Opposition House Leader.
Crisis is heartbreaking and tragic. In the first half of this year, more than 2,000 Canadians died as a result of this epidemic. Opioid deaths affect Canadians of all backgrounds. Rich, poor, people from rural or urban areas, all are affected. This is a national crisis, and the government needs to take action immediately before the situation gets even worse. Does the government realize how urgent this situation is, and do they take the opioid crisis seriously?
Honourable Minister of Health.
Mr. Speaker, we are in a national public health crisis when it comes to the opioid epidemic, and our government is taking it extremely seriously. We are treating this as a public health issue and not a criminal one. Unlike the Harper Conservatives, Mr. Speaker, we have restored harm reduction as a key pillar in our strategy. We believe in supervised consumption sites and overdose prevention sites because we recognize they save lives. We continue to work with provinces and territories, and we will do all that we can to turn this tide on this national public health crisis. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Opposition House Leader.
Earlier this week, when we were debating about the crisis, we heard some heart-wrenching stories of lives lost, including the loss of 38 lives in Barrie, Ontario. And unbelievably, when the Liberals responded to hearing of these 38 deaths, the Liberal House Leader could be hearing saying, and I quote, "Oh, that's it? That's not so bad, is it?" Mr. Speaker, these heartless and cruel comments are incredibly hurtful to the thousands who have suffered because of this crisis. Why in the world would the Liberal House Leader say this, and will she stand in this House and apologise?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, this is a very serious issue for myself. It is for my community. I know it is for all members across this place. I will tell you that my comments were not intended to diminish the seriousness of this. In Waterloo Region, we have seen 85 people lose their lives. Mr. Speaker, on this issue, if I've offended anyone, I can promise you I have no problem apologizing. I apologize. Thank you.
Well, the Honourable Opposition House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I do thank the House Leader for that apology, but unfortunately it can't erase the damage and the hurt that has been done. Mr. Speaker,
Order. Order. The Honourable Opposition House Leader has the floor. Order.
Mr. Speaker, thousands of families have suffered greatly as a result of this crisis, and cruel comments like those only make things worse, and they cannot undo the damage done. So the question for the House Leader is this: how could she say that? What did she mean by those comments? And is this the way the Liberal cabinet talks about this crisis when the doors are closed and they think that nobody's listening?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, it was a very serious debate that we had on Monday. We had members from both sides ask for an emergency debate. It was denied. We worked together, all parties, to ensure that members could put themselves on the record. This is a very serious issue. I was part of that debate, and I too shared a story. It impacts my community like it impacts every community across this country. It is a national crisis. We do need to do more, and I can assure you that's what we're doing. As I have said to the member, and I will say to all members in this place and anyone that took my comments to be intended for something they weren't, I apologize. Thank you.
The order, please. Order. The honourable member for Lévis-les-Botinières. Mr. Speaker, Monday night, after giving a moving speech on the opioid crisis, the member for Barrie told us that 38 people have died in Barrie unfairly, affecting their families and loved ones, leaving them in mourning because of this crisis. The Leader of the government in the House then said, "Oh, that's all. That's not so bad, isn't it? That's outrageous." So allow me to describe this remark as being completely unacceptable. Can the Government House Leader explain why she said this? The Honourable Minister of Health. Mr. Speaker, we are dealing with an opioid public health crisis. The government is working hard with its partners at the provincial, territorial, and municipal level. Since 2018, we've invested over $230 million. We want Canadians to know that we have resources on the ground. There are services available to those who need them. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. The honourable member for Lévis-les-Botinières. Mr. Speaker, a single death is one too many. The government House leader showed a complete lack of compassion. The opioid crisis is serious. Does she understand the scope of it and its tragic consequences for the families of the 38 people who died? Mr. Speaker, will the government House leader revisit her words and explain why she does not think that these 38 deaths are a serious matter? The Honourable Minister of Health. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Again, we are extremely concerned by the opioid crisis. It's a public health crisis. Our government is seeing this as a public health issue and not a criminal issue. We're working with the provinces and territories to put resources on the ground where they are needed. We'll keep on monitoring this situation closely and work with all of our partners. The numbers that we've seen this week are not only numbers, they're people, moms, dads, children. We're all concerned about this crisis. The Honourable